perfect summer drink. This is an excellent plant to know for foraging. This is Rhus trilobata, named so for these 3 leaflets, and it's very closely related to Rhus aromatica, and that is because if you crush up the leaves, they have a nice aromatic, kind of skunky smell. So the common name for this would be fragrant sumac or skunkbush sumac. And now, they're technically separate species, but Rhus aromatica would be on the eastern half of the country, and Rhus trilobata would be on the western half. I'm kind of in the middle right now in Austin. Now, the berries of it are edible, produced in profusion, and they're quite delicious. You can collect a lot. I collected all of these in maybe 15 minutes, and clearly I could get much more. They were eaten by many different American Indian tribes, and they could be eaten fresh or dried for storage. Really common use would be to either mash them fresh and soak them in water and make a nice drink from it. It could also be dried, and the dried berries ground up whole and mixed with water also to make a drink. Another common name for the plant would be lemonade berry, and that's because it has a nice tart flavor, and so when you make that drink, it's kind of like a lemonade, maybe even better. The plant had various other uses. One common one would be for basketry. You peel it, and then you can split the end. And so you can get this nice splint, which is very flexible. And it was actually used for coiled basketry. You might take some grass and then wrap this around it like that. And then this would be coiled around. And the next layer, this would go through it and connect it to the one on top. And it would also be used for just normal types of basketry. In fact, the Apache would even coat it with pine pitch in order to make a water bottle. The Navajo actually used it for arrows, but I haven't found an individual plant with straight, long shoots to use that. And the Tewa even used it for bows. I definitely haven't found any individual with branches large enough for that. Another common use would be as a mordant in dyeing. So you could use the shoots and the twigs and the leaves. You would mix it with whatever dyeing material you're going to use and boil it, and it would help affix the dye to your basketry or fabric. The Northern Cheyenne would dry the leaves and mix them with tobacco for smoking, providing a nice additional flavor. And I know a couple other species of sumac were also used similarly, such as Rhus glabra, smooth upland sumac, or Rhus virens, evergreen sumac. So the Northern Cheyenne name for the plant would be Ho Otuno Estse, which means smoke issues. And the Apache name for the plant would be Tsiltsi, which is smelly wood. And the Comanche would take the bark and mix it with water and use that in their sweat baths to inhale the fumes. The Comanche would also eat the bark to treat colds. The berries were also eaten whole by the Kiowa to treat colds and stomach trouble. And the Cahuilla ate the whole berries to stimulate appetite. The berries were also dried and powdered very finely and applied to sores, such as in the case of smallpox, by Northern California Indians. The Mexican Kickapoo would take the leaves and dry and powder them and also apply those to sores. For the full list of all of its uses by American Indians and all the details, you can check out my website, paleoforaging.com. So I gathered all of these in about an hour. Now, very refreshing. It's nice and sweet and tart. Doesn't need any sugar, sweetener. So adding some wouldn't hurt. You can also make a decoction or infusion like tea, and that gives it more of a tamarind-like flavor. But I just soak it in water. It's ready in as little as an hour, or we can just put it in the fridge overnight. And when you soak it cold, it has more of a tart, lemony flavor versus the tea with a tamarind-like flavor. A very nice, perfect summer drink. Now, I don't smoke, okay, kids? This is purely for science. But the fragrant sumac doesn't add too much of its own flavor. It's mainly a way to dilute and stretch out the tobacco. Tobacco alone is actually quite strong. And doing that, mixing tobacco with other herbs, was a very common practice of American Indians. And the various types of sumac were often the leaves which were used for that purpose. They don't really add much, but they blend well with the tobacco smoke and very unobjectionable.